Okay, we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, you once again welcome to another episode of the Kingdoms podcast. And I'm excited. I have with me a very special guest. I have with me Anick, the French second name. I do not want to murder it. And of course, this is Anick from Support Black Charities. How are you today, Anick?
I am great. Thank you for this opportunity. And my last name is always difficult, and it's like a test.
Mouthful.
It's like a French test, so it's okay. It's all good. Just Anik is fine. It's pronounced Silencieux, but I am not.
Silencieux, Silencieux. You can pardon my French.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, but then it's not as complex as it actually is spelled. Silencieux, right?
Right, right. And you're good because you don't see the X. I think the confusion is that people usually say silencieux because they try to pronounce
Oh,
the
I
X, but the
see.
the X is
Yeah,
actually silent. So
in,
so
in the English
not bad.
way.
You passed the test. You passed the
Oh, wow,
test.
interesting. I was telling a French friend recently that why do you guys use consonants at the back of words and you guys are not going to pronounce it? Are those consonants for decoration or something?
You say you guys as if I invented French. You
You're
didn't.
one of them. You're one of them. If you cannot beat them, then if you cannot join them, then you if you cannot beat them, you join them, brother. You join them, brother. Interesting.
Right.
It's nice to have you on board, right? Before we talk about the charity, right? I would like to get to meet you as a person.
Mhm.
So, how would you describe yourself as a person, and what was your childhood like?
Well, I always start by saying that I am not unique. I do have a twin sister.
Wow.
I've had to say that because we've ran into some situations. But I was born and raised in Montreal, in Canada. My
Oh,
parents are from Haiti in the Caribbean. A normal
interesting.
childhood, with vacation and having fun. And I would say the thing that's a little bit different is my parents, very young, they put us in everything. Um, and I think that helped me later on in life. They put us in everything. Think about it: swimming, gymnastic, piano, flute. My brother had soccer. We had swim. I always say swimming, acting lessons. And each one of us, we picked something we liked and we continued with it. My sister was dance. Me, it was sports. I love sports. My brother was acting. So I think that's something that characterizes my childhood, thinking that my parents, I don't know if they wanted to put us in things because they were busy, um, or they just wanted, I should ask my parents that, or they just wanted to try. And I think it was the effect of, being immigrants, and they just want to take advantage of everything available in Canada. And so if people told them you should put your kids in swimming, put the kids in swimming, and so on. So growing up, then I was always interested in different things. I went a lot into love music, love dancing, but professionally, my interest was I was always geared to understanding how things work. So my profession, I became an engineer,
Um,
and it's also a little bit by eliminations because I didn't like anything else. And my twin sister chose the medical field, and I chose the engineering field. And it has
you
definitely
were
changed.
scientists.
Yes, yes. It definitely had an effect on my life, if I can say, if I go to the organization that I have today, Support Black Charities, because after my senior year, there's an organization, a not-for-profit in the US. They're also big in the UK as well, I believe so. They wanted to extend their reach in Canada. So that was the organization National Society of Black Engineers. and they opened a chapter in my school. I became the president, chapter president, and I went to some of their events, some of their conventions, and they had national conventions. And I went to one. It was amazing. You know, when you're in Montreal, you're not a lot of women in engineering, not a lot of black people in engineering, and then you go.
Typically, the
It, it,
minority
it,
of the minority.
it's a minority, and then you go to a convention where there's 10,000 engineers, alumni, students, just like you. It just changed my world, changed my perspective of the power of a network. And some of the people that I met, I'm still friends with them today. And luckily, at that convention, there was a big career fair. I had a couple of on-site interviews, and 3 months later, I got a job, moved to the U.S. So I lived the American dream for about two and a
American
half
dream.
years. But what I say is that I am the result of a non-for-profit. I am the result of a nonprofit. Nonprofits work, I started my career thanks to them. I started in the U.S. and then when I moved back to Canada, thanks to that experience, I was able to find another great job, and which I did for 15 years. And so a lot of people think that, black charities are about poverty, gang violence, drugs, AIDS in Africa, but it's not. There's so many
That's a
different types
stereotype.
of organizations that help people at different level. Exactly. It really helped people at different levels. So for me, it had a profound um, impact in my life. And then growing up in Montreal, Haitian, I had a couple of family members that had community centers. And so as kids, we were the default volunteers. They never asked us. We were just the volunteers for the event. So, but at the time, I didn't like it. When you're 16, 17, you want to go out with your friends, but no, you have to go volunteer. I didn't like it, but I remember it today, being in that space, being with different people, that seeing the impact of community work with my aunt, and some of the other people in the community. So I continued, even though I worked as an engineer, I did a lot of outreach for youth, Black youth, or young Black girls, to talk about the field of science and engineering. Loved doing that, going to school and kind of answering the myth, or disrupting the myth that kids have about engineers. They think we made a lot. Yes, we're comfortable financially, but people, elementary school used to ask us, do you drive a BMW? That's what they think about engineers. So it was interesting to also um, talk to kids and say, anything could be matched with science today. You like food, you can match it with science. You like doing clothes, you can match it with science. And just to see how it opened up their world, I really like that. And at some point I said, you know what? One day I'm gonna have my own nonprofit. I didn't know what, but I said one day I'm gonna have my own. And I had the idea once, we were very um, how do I say this? The Support Black Businesses movement is very big. I understand it. You want to keep the money in the family, want to grow the ecosystem. I get that. I just thought that, why don't we use the same momentum for charities and nonprofits? And for me, especially for because of my story, in the sense that I see the impact that it had in my life, and I'm not necessarily poor in drugs or in a gang, it still had an impact on me. Now, I'm not blind to the realities of our community. Absolutely. Racism, absolutely. I've seen it through my career as an engineer, and before that as a child. And there are some organizations that directly respond to try to bridge the gap between the systemic racism. So I I just had an idea. I'd like to make it more accessible, visible to people, to be able to support organizations in the Black community. And instead of just doing it in Canada, where I'm based, I said I'm going to open it up to the world, because I myself, I'm a diaspora, and the Black diaspora is strong, is dynamic. I mean, from the UK to New York to Toronto, and you can even go to Brazil. to cities like in Panama. You go to Australia. You can go to all over Europe, obviously Africa, with Africa and the Caribbean. So I just thought it's a way to have a link back home. I know for me, whether something is happening, good or bad, in Haiti, I'm linked. If there's an organization doing something, whether they're in Canada or in Haiti, I've always supported somehow. And I have a lot of friends from the continent, a lot of friends from the Caribbeans, and it's the same thing for them. They are attached to back home. So I wanted to create a structure to make it easy for the diaspora and people back home to be able to support their own community, and also to disrupt the narrative that black people this, black people that. That's not true. That's not. It's a part of my reality, but it's
There is
not
a
my
lot
whole
of
reality.
stereotype about black people out
I
there.
know. I'm just so tired of
And
it.
I see how passionate you are about, changing the narrative.
Oh,
Speaking to you,
absolutely.
I see the passion and I see there's a whole lot to unpack, right? But then before we go forward in unpacking these things, we're quite interested in your person. You're an immigrant. Would I say first generation or second generation immigrant now? Uh,
First,
yeah, first generation immigrant, since your parents actually brought you into the country, right? I'm an immigrant myself in the United
I
Kingdom.
see.
I understand, the toughness behind that story of an immigrant, right? I see
Mhm.
how they made you try everything because they want to enjoy the benefits of this newfound land, right? So for you, growing up, who would you say were your early life influences within, that family setting and that community that you were raised in?
I and it's today that I realize it. There was one of my aunt. She's since passed, but she was in Brooklyn, New York. She was the life of the community.
Mm,
And she was also one of the people that whenever we came to visit in New York, it didn't matter what we did. If there was an event, we were volunteers. It didn't matter. But a couple of times I spent the day with her going in the neighborhood. I was just doing groceries with her and she just needed me to do things. And she was like so popular. Everybody was like, "Hey, hi, how you doing? Thank you for this, thank you for that." Sure. And she was talking to them saying, "I'll come back to you next time." And I was like, wow, she has such an impact.
mm,
She's my aunt. She's always had that reputation in the family as being very generous. But I saw our generosity extended to the community, the people in the
mm.
neighborhood, and I just remember that really marked me. And I saw my aunt differently after that. After spending that whole day with her and being like a superstar in the neighborhood, just walking down the street. I was, and it's just by because she's helping, because she's literally helping people, and people would come up to her and different things. So that I remember that prior to that day, my aunt for me was just like, oh, she wants me to do something for her. After that, I saw her completely differently, and it she really had an impact on the work that I do today, and I see it. And it's not always, people don't always tell you right away, but there's a ripple effect to the impact that you have. And she marked me that way. Prior to this, I would say my mom as well. Um, my mom has always helped her siblings if they were in some type of uh, problem or situation. I've seen my mom dish out money. I've seen my mom taken we've had our uncle stay with us. We've had our aunt and my cousin stay with us. If there was something happening in Haiti, I saw we used to put all our money together and send things. So I've seen it also for my mom early on, and I saw how other people would look at my mom because of what she did. So I think these are two people that in my family they were always there. I think I appreciate it more later on in my life now that at the time it was just normal, but now I see the impact that they both had, these women had in my life, absolutely. And my mom is not she's an elderly person now, and I feel like people still come to her, but she doesn't have the same energy to do things. So me and my sister are trying to take on the mantle, but these are the two people that really impacted my
Influence.
life
Wow.
yes, in terms of impacting the community.
Wow,
Absolutely.
interesting, interesting. But in terms of the principles that you, let me put it this way: your core values. Have you had the time to sit down and say, these are the principles, these are the core values that have actually shaped you and shaped the work that you do? What values would you attribute?
I would say if you're in a position that you can help, I'm going to be bold and say you should. I think everybody has something to give. It could be time, it could be money, it could be your attention, it could be your expertise, it could be a smile, it could be a phone call. And the ripple effect of just a simple gesture is big. So in terms of compassion, I'm definitely more compassionate towards people's different situations. And I think even become as an adult, I've become what's the word an empath, where you take on other people's um, pain or struggle. That I found that there's certain movies I can't watch anymore. Some of the movies about racism and about I can't watch those movies anymore. It takes me 2 weeks to get it out of my system. And
Wow.
for maybe a week, like some of those movies where there's like struggle against racism and black people and like 12 years of slave and things like that. For a week,
Django
I don't
Unchained.
I, all of this, like for a week,
Those,
I can't talk to white people. It's tough. Like
those
I just noticed as I got older, it it affects me more. I hear something on TV about somebody going through something, and sometimes I want to listen, but I have to stop because I just it gets into me. So I don't know if it's a value, but I would say being compassionate and always trying to find a way um,
you're
to help.
empathetic.
Yes, there's always a way. And being resourceful that if it's not you, maybe you can put somebody in the right direction. I've seen that, like I said, in my family. I've done that as much as I can with my friends, but I also know that you before you help, you have to be solid. So it's like if you have a broken leg, you can't carry somebody on your back. That's what my financial planner told me, and I remember that. She said, if you're not okay, you can't help other people. So you got to make sure you're solid to be able to help other people. So that's the boundary that I have. If I'm going through something, then I can help people. But if I can, I try to. I see that everybody needs help sometimes, and it can have such a big ripple effect. So that's something that stays with me a lot.
Wow, fantastic. It reminds me of something my father told me growing up. I don't know if he even remembers ever telling me, but I think certain things your parents tell you growing up and then it sticks with you, right? He told me you can't empower others until you if you have not empowered yourself. So, in order to empower your people, you have to empower yourself. And it did stick with me, right? And I've
Hmm.
always been on that constant journey to empower myself so that I can be resourceful, so that I can, yeah, be a blessing to, my community. But then if you don't add
Hmm.
value to yourself, it takes you adding value to yourself before you can give value. But a lot of people
Absolutely.
realize that, and sometimes you get drained along the way because you're overly compassionate, right? Yeah, you're
Hmm.
compassionate, but you also have to add value to yourself in order to be able to give that value. You are an engineer by profession, right? And there, of
Hmm.
course, you did some work in that field. So let's talk about engineering. Let's talk about
Sure.
engineering. So what specialization in engineering did you go into, and what was your career like in engineering?
I did electrical engineering.
Oh,
And
wow.
I knew I wanted to. I was just drawn to it. And there's a one of my mom's friend was an engineer, and like the same way, like I said, my mom put us in everything to expose us. She
Well, you got engineering by way of elimination, so you had to eliminate the other options. So
yes,
what really inspired you to eliminate the other options and settle for engineering?
I really like electronics. I mean, my this is something I like people don't really know, but I wanted to work with robots. I wanted to build robots.
Robotics,
And so robotics, I was just fascinated by that. And so that's
automation
electronics.
and robotics.
That's within electrical engineering. You had to do a master's to get to the automation. Today, no, today you can't get into it a little faster, but back in the day, you had to do electrical engineering as your BA, and then in a master's level, you did automation. So
Okay.
I never got there because my studying was hard enough, was good, that after a while I was like, nah, I think I'm going to stay here and go practice. But um, I, like I said, with the organization, electrical engineering is vast. There's a lot of different things that you can get into on the software side or on the hardware side, but still with electrical. And I got into the workforce just at the time where everything was software based, and every hard piece of hardware is software based. So you need to know a little bit about coding to be able to understand the hardware. So I was a new grad, so my first job, I was fortunate to get into a new grad program, which is wonderful because in a new grad program, they know you're new, and it was for a company called Nortel Network. So they were part of the telephone system. It was a huge company back then. They're not anymore. I did live with. I went down with them, but I worked in Italy. So my product line was call forwarding. So I was responsible for the electronic card that was put in the phone rooms for call forwarding, and learned a lot about not just engineering, but being in a corporate, understanding who are the business account people, the project manager, who are the logistics, who are the technician, who's the like account manager, managers, supervisor, team leaders, all these titles that at school you don't know anything about. So I really got to learn the pecking order in a corporate setting. Vice presidents,
Yeah, the
director, what do
hierarchy,
they all do?
basically. The corporate
Right.
ladder.
Exactly. I got to understand that because in school you don't really learn that.
It gives you
I got
structure.
right, right. So I think that was the biggest thing I learned. Who does what, when, how, with who. And but I love the work. It was about I was in a test and repair department, and so anything that is manufactured needs to be tested at some point. So my department, we would test these cards. So I was responsible for writing the code, writing the procedures, the troubleshooting manuals to be able to test. And like I said, I was in a new grad program. So for the first year, I just learned about their products. I was really almost in a classroom setting, learning about their products. And I think in any company, even though you come out of school, there's always a learning curve about how do they work, what is their what is their product. So it was a lot of that. And once I finally understood everything, then I was given a product line, and I had 5 technicians working in my team, and I loved it. It was always different. I learned a lot about what can go wrong and how to fix it. I was a repair and test engineer, so this was my world. You test the ones that are broken, you repair them, and then if there's a trend, you find the trend and you try to make sure that doesn't happen again. Sometimes it's a hardware issue, a machine goes down, and sometimes it's a human issue where I remember at one time there was a technician on the line doing the manufacturing, manufacturing the card. For one day, they forgot their glasses. So for that one day, they put a lot of things not correctly, which affected the whole product line. So now we had to put things in place to check, okay, everybody that needs glasses, they need to make sure that they check every morning that they have their glasses. If they don't, they can't work. But at the same time, you put steps in place after what she did to make sure that we tested it before it went out. So that's what I like. I like to we fix problems basically. So I learned a lot, teamwork, understanding fast what's going on, and I really learned about root cause analysis. So that really, but that company, Northtown Networks, unfortunately, When fiber optic came out, they really did follow that trend in the market. And so when people were updating their equipment, people went to fiber optic. We didn't sell it, so we lost a lot of business quick, and the company was sold off. And then at that time, I decided to move back to Canada. I was looking for a job. I had little jobs here and there. I worked in an ATM repair company for
Wow,
a couple of
you've
entities.
done
So
a lot.
I've done a lot. So now I know how ATMs work. So I did that for maybe a year and a half, maybe. And then I found a job that ultimately is kind of the flagship of my career. I got into data recovery and computer forensic. So it's always the same thing. Data recovery is about finding the problem and fixing it. So that's what we did. I loved it. It's a field that changed a lot. If you understand the hard drive industry or the storage industry, how much it changed. Before it was hard drive 2 gigs. Now you have like 100 terabyte, or actually 10 terabytes on the drive. So I've lived through that whole change of people putting a lot more on their hard drive. So that
And
meant
of
that they could
course, with the
lose
cloud
a lot
storage
more.
now.
Yeah, so the stories of fire, corruption, all the way to how do you call that? Virus, malware, ransomware. So that was my world. That was my world for a long time. I had a great team. I became a supervisor, so I started being the one writing troubleshooting procedures and learning the new technology to then be. If something new comes out, we have to learn it to be able to repair it. So that was the challenge when everything came out. Same thing from when we I was at the other company when Bluetooth came out. This was completely new. We had to learn how it worked to be able to
Wow. I
incorporate
see
it.
you see like different generations of the computing system. It's
Yes,
quite
yes,
interesting that you're not just a user, you're also a producer, right?
right.
It's fantastic being on both sides.
Yeah, and that's really what I like about engineering. You have to follow technology. And so, I went to a few conventions, went to a few things to get up with technology. I traveled a bit to do trainings, some in the US, some in Europe. So that was my world for a long time. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
on the side, I had started um, the the non for profit.
Oh wow.
So
I'm
I
going to
spent
put you on the
years now.
spot, right? Before we get to talk about non for profit, I wanted to put you on the spot regarding AI, right? What is your
Okay.
thought? What are your thoughts on the recent development of AI, with the way AI is really taking over, and the likes of your Chat GPT and and all, like what are your thoughts on the AI space right now?
It's funny you ask me this because I am a AI enthusiast.
Oh
I
wow.
use it as much as I can. And I think it's useful for different levels. Not It depends on the job that you're in and what you do. And I had a talk recently where I had to talk about the AI with the work in non-for-profits. And the way I brought up the topic. I said, as an engineer, and this is something I don't want my parents to know. As an engineer, I learned how to use electricity. But if you ask me how electricity works exactly as an electrical engineer, it's still a bit of a mystery to me. I know how to use it. I know how to manipulate it. I know how to out, if if I'm working on a system and the power unit goes out, I just replace it. I am I mean, I understand electricity up to 50%. I don't fully understand it, but I still use it. I can design with it, I can do things with it, right? And I see the same thing with AI. AI, will we ever unless you're really working in it, will you ever learn how to use it, how it works? No, but you can still use it. I mean, whenever you put your bread in your toaster, do you ask yourself, I wonder how electricity works before you use your toaster? You still toast your thing, right? When
But
when microwaves came When microwaves came to the market, did you really tell yourself, I don't know how microwaves work, so I'm not going to use it? No, we still use it. So that's the way I, if you ask me for my opinion, that's the way I talk about it. AI, and you know what, I did take some machine learning classes. So I would say I know how it works 50% of the time, but I may never know 100%, but I just learned how to use it. I think any type of technology could be used for good or bad. And
But people have real concerns about, the fact that AI is, taking human jobs,
Mhm.
making humans have less human interaction, and has the capability to spiral into like very negative consequences of,
Right.
I think, one of the optimists, right?
Yes, and I think anytime there's a change in technology, you're gonna have this. I mean, if you remember how the phone system used to work before, it was women or individuals that would connect your line physically. It was a
Mm.
group of people that would be in a room and they would connect your line physically. And then we upgraded the whole system. These women didn't work anymore. They did lose their job because of technology. So there's a lot of things like this that changed. Uh, it doesn't have to be technology in terms of a unit or a product. Look at Uber. There's a lot of taxi drivers that lost their jobs because Uber came
Mhm.
about. So I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that I think it comes with change. And the way we're using technology today, the way it's advancing, is we're trying to make everything faster, smarter, and all together. So because we're consolidating a lot of things, some jobs will be eliminated, but at the same time, this is what I always say, at the same time, AI created also a whole new set of jobs. So we do lose some jobs, but there's a whole new set of jobs
You
that
said
was just
jobs that are
created.
created. So what's the link
Exactly.
between AI and the non-profit?
If what?
So what's the link between AI and the non-profit space?
I'm actually working on something now called AI for nonprofit, and we could use it the same way in any business. When you write documents, you write plans, you write frameworks, you write emails, automated emails, social media. With AI today, all of this could be done a lot easier. You It would take you a long time to create, I don't know, social media scheduled for a whole month. Now with AI, you could do it so much faster. Because for not for profit, you want to promote your impact, you want to ask for donation, you want to do so. You have to constantly be engaged with the audience. Let people know what you do, how you're doing it, and the impact of your work. So um, articles and social media are really important, but it's also very daunting for a smaller organization because today somebody told me you don't, and I apply this to non for profit. You don't have a business if you don't have a website. If you have a business and you don't have a website, you don't have a business. And it's the same thing for non for profit. If you have an organization and you don't have a website and you don't have social media, then what are you doing? So I'm just using it that way to say that with AI, there's a lot of things that could be automated. For research, you can use to look for content, you could use to produce content, to look for content. But uh, what I try to say too is that it's to create and research, but you always have to edit, approve, and customize
Yes,
because
exactly.
you have customize it absolutely.
You always have
Yeah.
to customize because you always need that human input. You just can't take what AI produces for you. You always have that human input, and of course you rightly mentioned customize. So speaking of customizing, right? Like, what is the impact? What is the niche of the support Black communities movement?
So I'm there. When you look at support Black charities, it means different things to different people.
Mm.
I think I lucked out on getting the URL at the time that I did in 2017. But Support means people looking for support are going to engage with me, and people looking to give support are going to engage with me as well. So I'm able to make the connection between the two. So you have companies, individuals that will email me and say, for example, these are real situations. The company will say, we want to fundraise. No, we just did an event and we have a surplus of goods that we'd like to donate to a charity. So for me, it's great when people connect with, but a lot of times they have like specific requests. For example, that particular company, they had two smart TVs, 80-inch and 50-inch, that they wanted to donate to a charity. But they needed the charity to be obviously Black serving, the charity to have a building, and to be about youth, Black youth. So in my directory, in my database, I found three, and it was a specific city in Montreal. So I found three, connected with them, and then I was able to put that company in touch with one of these organizations, and they got in contact. And now that youth organization, they have an 80-inch TV and a 50-inch TV. So this is a little bit what the role of our organizations, because we have like a network of people looking to give support and a network of people looking for support,
Looking for
and
support.
we're able to make those connections. But it's not only that. Originally, it started with just being a directory of Black serving organizations. So you could look for an organization to engage with or support based on your location, based on your passion, based on your interest, based on your hobby. I think these are the best connections when you donate to an organization that, let's say you're into sports, and in your neighborhood, there's a Black organization that organizes activities around sports for kids, then you're more likely to want to give to that organization because it's in your neighborhood, you love sports, and so on. So that's kind of what we wanted to create a structure where people could look for organizations based on all of these things. And what I find out is that a lot of the organizations don't have the word Black or Afro or African or Caribbean in their name. So when you go to
Mm.
Google and you say Black organization in UK or in London, some organization, depending on how their website is set up, it might not come up, right? But on my organization, they come up.
Oh
So
wow.
we spend a lot of resources on SEO because we want to be found, and then we promote that we have a directory. So then people can go on our directory to look for these organizations all over the world. So our obviously our directory is vetted. It's important for us and for and for the supporters that the organizations that are listed on our directory are vetted. So we do have 7 points that we look at, and the ones that don't have all the points, then we help them get there. It's important to have a standard in the industry because that's the number one thing. People don't trust the organization. And I'm going to go one step further because I know my community, in within the Black community, we have trust issues. So because we have trust issues, we have to go the extra mile, which is fine. And if that's the way, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. We have to
But
go the extra
what
mile.
organization do you use for the vetting? Because, for example, in the UK, I use Trustpilot anytime I want to engage with any organization.
Right?
But are you guys just within Canada, or you're based in Canada, the US, the UK?
So we have 7 points that we base our process on,
Okay.
and we vet organizations from all over the world. So on our directory right now, we have about 150 organizations from 22 countries,
Oh,
obviously
that's
including Canada, US, UK, many countries in Africa, many islands, Europe as well. Um,
that's
and the way we vet organization is it's a tedious process. It's a manual process right now, but we are looking at systems like Trustpilot and things like this. But I
uh,
still want to do it manually. I still want to do it manually because we need that transparency. And I've seen too much fraud,
and it keeps the credibility.
especially, yeah, I've seen too much fraud during 2020 after COVID and the increased attention on racial inequality after George Floyd. The number of organizations that were asking for money just quadruple, and
You are.
exactly. And what you saw a lot is like a one-page website, and what they did is they put like the stereotype, the bad stereotype, a little kid with a big stomach with flies on their face and GoFundMe asking for money. And then you look at the GoFundMe and I'm like, $10,000. That works with people?
Yeah,
So
that's
and then you dig in a little bit, and this organization just popped up. They're not registered, they're not nothing, right? So you'll always have those people that take advantage. And you have this in every industry. You hear people that say I have cancer to get money, and then they don't really have cancer. So it's important for us to vet, for our reputation, because we put them on our directory, and for the donors, we want them to be able to trust the organizations that are on our directory. So we vet them according to several things. First, they have to have a website. That's Having a website means that you have skin in the game, because you need to pay that website. You have to have an updated website. You have to have social media. The website is like, it's like um, a storefront, and the social media is like the weekly flyer. And so basically we vet organization through, do they have a newsletter, are they active, do they have running programs, and all those things. So it's important for a supporter to understand that this organization is active, they're doing things, they have an impact, and so on. So that's important for us. But I guess the last thing I'll say is, for us right now, for organizations, is we also have a services and programs to be able to help organization. Our We change our mandate now. Our mandate is to help Black serving organization be sustainable. I want to see those organizations that are there for 10, 40 years, 50 years, to have generational impact. That's the name of the game. And so we have a series of services that we now give to organizations, from how to do your website, governance, fundraising, impact measurement, all the way to cybersecurity, how to program development, and so on. So this is our goal today: is we want to help Black serving organizations so they can help their community and be there for a long time. So there's a lot. It goes with the value that I was talking about. You can't help others if you're yourself is not solid. So we're trying to help organizations be solid, so they can continue to help for generations, the community that they serve wherever they are. That's kind of our goal today.
Wow, fantastic stuff, fantastic work. By my time, I see we have roughly about 3 minutes left on
Mhm.
the show. So I want to fully utilize this 3 minutes. So first off, I was going to ask you, do you know about Black Business Enterprises? That's headed by Nancy Corsa. So
I
I
don't I know that organization, but I don't know her personally, but I've
oh,
heard, I'm
wow.
familiar with the organization. Yes.
She was on this podcast.
Mhm.
I think earlier this year, right? So it was an interesting one. But I would give you a question from a previous guest, and you would
Mhm.
have to leave a question for the next guest. So that is
Okay.
typically the tradition at the end
Okay.
of the podcast. So the question from the previous guest is, what would you like your legacy to be?
Great question. I would like for people to be more interested in their community. And like I said at the beginning, everybody has something to give. Everybody has something to give. If it's not time, if it's not money, listen, when you just go on social media today and you spend 10 minutes on an organization website or social media page, and you just like a few things here and there, that is giving you time. You have companies paying million for our attention today. So you giving that 10 minutes to an organization is something, because we all know, when you go on a social media page and you see one post that has 50 likes and the other one that has 10 likes, which one do you go to first? You go to the one that has 50 likes, right? So
Well,
it's behavior, but that's how it works. Just
mm,
going to an organization website and social media and interacting to let them know I like this, I like that. It goes a long way. So it's just really that my legacy would be to really tell people that everybody has something to give, and the ripple effect of your help. It could go so far. And I would
Mm.
wish that people can look inside themselves and see what can I share with somebody. And again, it could be just a smile. Could be a smile, but when you share that smile, it has a ripple effect. So if I can leave that, that would probably be something that I would like to change with people.
Oh wow, fantastic. So what question would you like to leave for the next guest?
I always like the question, what would you do differently knowing what you know now?
What
Like
would
in
you
the
do?
past, right?
Yeah.
Let's say now that you've been through this, what would you do differently in your early life? Um,
Oh,
I just thought I always like that. That's a question I always like to ask. I think it's you can learn a lot from people's realizations. And yeah, that would be a question I would leave for the next person.
oh, wow. Fantastic. It's been a really, really great episode. It's been a great session with you. Before you leave, do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
I have a fantastic team, dedicated, um, fortunate to have them around me. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. I have my vision, and to have other people that share your vision the same way is incredible. And I always take the opportunity to be grateful and to let them know about it.
Oh, wow. For me, I'm very, very big on gratitude. And with that,
Hmm.
I say a very, very big thank you to you because, an attitude of gratitude determines the magnitude of your altitude. That's what I like to say. So, once
Great.
again, thank you very much. You're highly, highly appreciated. I wish you the
Thank
very
you.
best in all of your endeavors and, wishing you a greater impact on, not just your community, but the global community. So, thank you once again for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity to share the story. I appreciate the premise of your show is to you said ordinary people doing
Sharing the
extraordinary
stories of
things.
ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yes,
Wow,
we need people to show these stories. So I appreciate your platform and I appreciate your time as well. Thank you.
wow, thank you very much.